In the front right, there's Chris.
Smiles and waves.
Smiles
That's what we
and
like
waves.
to see. And there they go. Chris Bosshausen, Glenn DeVries, Audrey Powers, and Captain Kirk himself, William Shatner, have just started their journey to the launch pad, into the crew capsule, and off to space. You can just, I have goosebumps. I can feel their anticipation looking at the,
This is awesome.
Words of encouragement from Team Blue along the way.
Absolutely, there to get the cheers and the hoots and the hollers from Team Blue. Once they pass, they're going to drive about another couple hundred yards out to towards in front of the mission control facility there. Get a couple more words of encouragement. That there, in fact, is their friends and family that have flown down here to Texas to watch them go to space and back. And here they come. They are approaching our mission control center. And just on the right there, you can see what we call the barn. That is the facility where we keep our rockets. Of course, we've got the rocket out there on the pad, as well as the second rocket that flew just a couple of weeks ago. That one is dedicated to payload flights.
It's really amazing to see all the demand we've seen for those payload flights to the point where we're able to have a full separate booster specifically dedicated to doing this important research in science.
And you know, Jackie, one day we are going to combine those payloads and the astronauts to do some tended payload flights. Just a wonderful opportunity for many scientists and engineers around the world who want to develop their technology. Maybe they don't need to go to orbital space. They just need a couple minutes of beautiful, clean micro-Gs, and that's what they get with these flights on New Shepard. Now you see the two vehicles have taken a left, and they are on their road to space. Jackie, I can tell you from having done the astronaut training just a couple of months ago, so I got to do everything minus get inside of a rocket that was up on the launch tower. But we did all of this because we had to coordinate it, of course. And the drive out there, there's this interesting mix of adrenaline because you're basically harnessing and containing your own adrenaline, and you're trying to kind of level it out. But it's also very peaceful, right? It is this 2-mile road that goes out to the launch pad, out to the rocket, and you're there with your thoughts. You know, these 4 astronauts have been thinking about going to space for a long, long time, and this moment is here.
I have to know what was on the playlist when you drove down the road to space. I know that mine would have an excessive amount of Pitbull. I don't know if that's a little too hype for this experience, but hopefully they're listening to some Rocket Man or something.
Yeah, exactly. Rocket Man was definitely on the playlist as we head out there. Now, Jackie, once they head out the road to space, there is the ring road that goes around the launch pad. They are going to go to the north end of the ring road, and they're going to stop and take a photo, take a couple of beautiful photos right before they get back in the Rivians, head back to the base of the launch tower, where they will ascend the tower and stop in the safety shelter first.
Yeah, and you can see a good view of that safety shelter right now. That's that white box on top of the launch tower.
You can tell that pensive look they're all taking in the moment, as they should. I can only imagine being in that.
I see all smiles from Astronaut Powers, so that's very exciting. Have a good view of that ring road now, which is that circular ring surrounding the launch pad, as Ariane mentioned.
There you go, they're checking it out. Now, from the training to cruising in your Rivians to the launch to the landing, this really is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If you guys are watching out there and you want to be one of those astronauts on the way to space, really encourage you, visit BlueOrigin.com and click on Fly to Space. We'd love to see you on that rocket, and let's be honest, frankly, we'd love to be on that rocket with you.
If you could put in your note that you specifically want to fly with Jackie and Ariane, maybe we'll see what can be done there. The astronauts are getting out of their Rivian, getting those smiles ready for that ring road crew photo. And Ariane, like you've mentioned multiple times, New Shepard is alive at this point. That booster is just waiting for its crew and it's ready to go. On the right of this shot, you do see Sarah Knights, our crew member 7. She's going to accompany the crew up to the tower and make sure they're situated in the capsule in just a little bit here.
That is a good-looking crew. In fact, while we got a moment here, they're going to get back into their Rivians. Why don't we get to know Sarah Knights and our Capcom Kevin Sprague just a little bit better. We've got a wonderful video to introduce them to you.
The entire vision of Blue Origin is we want to democratize space.
T-minus 10.
You don't need to be a NASA astronaut. You don't need to be a trained engineer.
5,
we want artists
4,
and poets and
wait,
teachers
sorry.
and scientists
2,
to be able to go to space.
1. Shepard has cleared the tower.
Crew member 7 is a position unique to Blue. 2 assigned to each launch. There are 6 people that can fly in our crew capsule. The 7th person is the crew member 7.
This is for real. This is it.
The other crew member 7 is called Capsule Communicator, and they represent all of mission control and launch operations to the astronauts.
It took me a long road to get here. I spent over 20 years as a fighter pilot at the United States Navy, but since I've been 8 years old, I wanted to be in space. Coming here to Blue Origin is the realization of a childhood dream of mine.
My background is in physics and astronomy. I went into STEM education. I was a teacher for many years. And when the position opened up at Blue, I knew that was me. The fact that I'm crew member 7 and the visible point of our entire team, it's such an honor.
The ascent descent position is crew member 7 is part teacher, part trainer, and part guide.
They're embedded with the astronauts. They're truly a member of the crew.
They're going to live with you at the astronaut village. They're going to conduct all of your astronaut training.
Spaceflight is complicated, but our astronauts that fly with us will not need to have a complicated view of what's happening. The rocket is autonomous, and all of the safety systems are hardwired into the core.
On launch day, crew member 7 is actually going to walk you up the tower, put you in your seat in the capsule, close the hatch. Capsule Capcom.
The Capcom will then take over as the astronauts take their journey to space. And then as soon as they land, crew member 7 will be there to help open the hatch and whisk them away to the celebration.
Great.
Our astronauts are one part of a very historic journey.
We're trying to build the infrastructure to get millions of people living and working in space.
So the people who come here will truly be helping us take that first step.
They are in wonderful hands with Kevin and Sarah.
You can say that again.
I mean, you know, with Kevin's military background, that discipline, the rigor. You've got Sarah with her academic background. She's an incredible teacher. The two of them work together well, they're very different styles, but they work together so well. I can't imagine a better team to be guiding our astronauts through this entire experience. Thank you again, everybody, for joining us live. If you've just joined us, we're at T-minus 33 minutes to go until launch, our second human flight. Our astronauts are ascending the tower here, as you can see. We've got the great William Shatner. We have our Blue Origin's very own Audrey Powers, as well as our two customers, Glenn DeVries and Chris Bosshausen, who are ascending the tower as well, and they are being greeted and hosted up the tower by our founder Jeff Bezos. So an incredible morning for all of them, as well as for us at Blue. Cannot wait. It's the same energy that we felt down here just a couple of months ago when we had our first human flight. And let me tell you, this doesn't get old. When you put people on board a rocket, this doesn't get old. And I can tell you, you know, I'm very close with Audrey Powers, of course, as a close friend and colleague. I've known Chris for over a decade. It's not just putting people on board, but when you know them, I'm having a moment myself, honestly. And when they take off, I'm glad you guys are going to be watching the rocket, because I might lose it a little bit.
I do have to say, also know Audrey very well and got a chance to talk to Glenn a little bit. And actually, Glenn and I are both Carnegie Mellon alumni. I had to toss that in.
I know.
Tartans in space, we have to. And I know that everyone, Glenn's from New York. Everyone in New York is watching, and his adopted Pittsburgh family, I'm sure, is watching as well. So it's very personal seeing this crew fly today.
Well, and in addition to, Chris is the first full Australian to fly to space. There have been other Australians, but they've been dual citizens. Chris is the first full Aussie to fly. So hello to all of our international viewers, especially those down under. We're so excited to have you joining us. And of course, to all the Trekkies out there that are joining us, thank you so much. It is a pleasure and an honor to be sending Captain Kirk to space today. This is going to be a really, really cool moment. And when I say, it comes from all of us, there you see a shot there just a moment ago of mission control. They are, focused, and it's a very disciplined team that has been trained over months and years in the case of many of our team members there.
Right, and they're led today by Nick Patrick, flight director, NASA astronaut. They're in very good hands. And here we have the crew. They're entering the shelter just to await their ingress across the bridge, then the gantry, and of course into their seats in the crew capsule. Each of our astronauts is looking great and ready to fly today in those Blue Origin flight suits.
Fantastic. So you see Sarah Knights at the bottom of your screen, or crew member 7. She, in just a moment here, is going to go, she's going to leave the shelter. She's going to go out across the bridge, just check in with the tower crew, make sure that we're all ready to go. And then she's going to come back to the shelter and take the astronauts out to the rocket.
And once the astronauts head out of the shelter, you will see them ring a fun ceremonial bell. So that'll come up later if you're wondering what they're doing at that point. It's a little tradition that we started at Blue. Make some noise before you get in your crew capsule.
That's right. That's right. Let everybody up in space know that you're coming. They can't hear you up there. Just as a reminder. But hey, we are at T-minus 29 minutes to go here. Why don't we take a moment and check out New Shepard as she awaits her astronauts. And here they go. There's Glenn DeVries, Chris Bosshausen, William Shatner, and Audrey Powers.
And today's special crew member 8, Jeff Bezos, and crew member 7, Sarah Knights. There we have our awesome tower crew ready to welcome them.
There you see Audrey giving some hugs to the tower crew. She is, of course, our vice president of mission ops for New Shepard, so of course she knows the whole team very intimately.
A lot of the team today are launching their boss to space. First Jeff, now Audrey. And there goes Glenn.
Into the hatch he goes. All of this is very carefully coordinated. You practice this many times during the rehearsal. You know, you go in, walk in, you kind of walk clockwise around the escape motor, which is in the center of the capsule, and take your seat. That, of course, then you harness in. You have practiced this many times during the training, and then you'll have crew member 7, Sarah Knights in this case, who's going to come around, make sure you're properly harnessed in, and make sure things are nice and tight.
Yeah, and Ariane, I know you've mentioned to me before, you board from the highest seat number first, and then the seat number 1 is the last to board, which is, of course, Audrey Powers today.
And there goes William Shatner. One last photo op before
What
he enters
a
the capsule.
surreal moment. Captain James Tiberius Kirk is boarding our Blue Origin spaceship. Ariane, I know you've discussed your astronaut training extensively. Now, obviously buckling the seatbelt is a very important part, and they've practiced this at this point, what, hundreds of times?
I don't know about hundreds, but certainly dozens and dozens of times. You can do this, as I've said before, upside down, inside out, upward, backwards and forwards. And by the way, it's important that you can do so. This is probably the easiest moment. A little bit more complex is, of course, when you're getting back into your seat after you've been up there at 0G to get the harness, to get into the harness, and then, of course, buckle it properly. But again, under the guide of Sarah Knights, they know how to do this. I was actually asking them earlier, you know, who is the fastest at it, and they said, of course, Audrey Powers was, because she's done this even more than they have, so she had kind of a leg up on them. There is Chris Bosshausen in the window on the left, and there goes Sarah Knights, our crew member 7, into the capsule to do last-minute harness and safety checks on the astronaut. There is Audrey on the left.
Once crew member 7 is, of course, comfortable that all of our astronauts look at their smiling faces from those big, beautiful windows. Once Sarah makes sure all of our astronauts are ready to fly today and they close that hatch, of course, we'll turn it over at that point to crew member 7's other half, Kevin Sprague, who'll be the voice from above, the capsule communicator.
Blue Control has first step, loud and clear.
And there you heard some initial communications between Capcom and the capsule. There goes Sarah Knights, making sure the harness is nice and tight. We see just in the corner there the hands of Glenn DeVries. Quick
Giving
thumbs up.
2 big thumbs ups, yes.
I had the chance to chat with him just a little bit the other night, and it was wonderful. I said, Glenn, what do you think you're going to think about once you're harnessed in? And he said, as much as I've been dreaming about going to space since I was a little kid, until you are up on top of that rocket, harnessed in, he's like, there's only so much mental preview of it that you can actually get. He said, he almost just pulled a blank. He said, I don't know, but I cannot wait for that moment. Glenn, that moment has arrived. You and your 3 co-crewmates are about to go to space and back. I hope you are taking every mental note there is.
And I loved one thing from that interview that Chris and Glenn, our customers, both actually said when they told their family and friends that they're going to go to space on New Shepard. There was pretty much a universal, well, finally.
It's about time.
It's about time. You've been talking about